Welcome to the UTPA Men's Basketball Show. I'm Jonah Goldberg, joined as always by our Bronx men's basketball head coach, Dan Hipsher. The Bronx have played about 73 games already this season. You know, it's funny, I was looking ahead to your UTSA game this week, and they sent me their stats, and they said, we're sending you all of our box scores from the season. I figured, oh my goodness, my email can't handle this. And then there were 2 attached. And I was thinking, do I have to send all 6 back? I forgot that other teams haven't necessarily played as many games as the Bronx have, but it's a good way to let you find out real early what your team's about.
Yeah, it's hard on our kids, and but we did need to find some things out about the team, and we had this opportunity to play in an exempt event up there, get 4 games out of it with Tillotson, and then the 3 games up in Corpus. And for us as a young team, you know, and a young staff being together, it's a really good learning curve and a chance to get out and kind of see who can do what.
So what did you learn about your team during this tournament?
Well, I learned that we're going to play pretty hard. We need to play a lot smarter, and we've got to probably now we've got the numbers to help maybe define roles to kids who maybe thus far haven't understood their roles yet. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the numbers start to speak for themselves, and you know, who we're looking to and why we're looking there, and it helps teach you that, and then you know, kind of helps us learn a little bit about some rotations that we can play.
And one thing when you start to look at the numbers that I think has spoken for itself would be Javon Farrell is averaging nearly 20 points per game.
Yeah, he's doing a nice job. He had a very poor outing his first outing, but since then has played pretty well. I think Javon would agree. He'd like to see his percentages be higher. Again, if you take away that first game, I think they're a little better. But, you know, effectively from the 3 and from the field, he needs to raise those numbers up and continue to raise them up along with the scoring. I've often said a guy who scores 20 points on 10, 12 shots is much better than a guy that scores 20 points on 18 shots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, you know, that's probably the only chink in Farrell's armor would be the 3-point shooting, but he's getting to the rim and he's finishing, and although he's not necessarily hitting threes, he's getting the old-fashioned 3. A few times he's been fouled and made the free throw.
Yeah, he's doing a good job, and again, I think he can improve there, and we've talked about that, Jonah, that he is a physical guy, and sometimes he gets in there and kind of steps around and dipsy-doos and reverses, and really he needs to make sure that he's going to get fouled, you know, and then finish too, because he's a good free throw shooter and he can take contact and, you know, once in a while jump in there, jump stop, pump fake, and get fouled, make sure it's happening instead of missing a few that he's really, if he cleaned that up, he'd be a 50% field goal shooter.
Here's the expert analysis that I have come up with a few games in.
That's a problem.
Yeah. What I've learned about your team is it doesn't matter how many points you're down by, the team comes back. I mean, you were down 24 against Corpus and came back. It went on a 15-1 run, and that's incredible to me.
Yeah, we did it with Houston. We did it with Corpus. We did it with Sam Houston. And the kids have fought back. They've continued to be scrappy. A lot of it is we getting a good offensive flow and start playing the way we need to play. But you know, I'd like to start doing it from the 0 point and taking the lead the other way. It's like we talk about our kids academically. Don't start with D's and F's and turn them into B's and C's. Start with, you know, A's and B's and keep them there. You know, it's a way better pattern, and we've got to get better at that. Our starts haven't been great.
But I'll tell you this, if you keep erasing deficits like that, nobody's going to want to play you come March.
Well, exactly. And, you know, maybe we learn, you know, how to play. And sometimes it's a lineup change that does it. You know, we got a good lineup going in the second half yesterday that we're moving the ball well and playing together and identifying roles. And that helped us. Plus, Corpus cooled off a little bit, too. They were on fire. But, you know, the start we had was just abhorrible. We got shots, couldn't make shots, got to the rim, couldn't finish shots, and then made enough defensive mistakes to allow them to get a lead. But I do like this team's tenacity.
What was the lineup change that helped you to come back?
Well, we brought actually Boga off the floor and Leathers off the floor. They were both struggling, and brought in Majewski, Hildebrandt, and a couple different guards, Raspopovich, Provost, and then really played a lot of times with Johnson in there and Farrell at the point. So, again, you'd like to know you've got consistent performers and don't need to do that, but right now we have to.
Javon Farrell, I just want to say one more word about him. He gets all tournament team honors and at this Corpus Christi tournament, and he's led your team in scoring in 5 straight games now, and also from a veteran presence, he was the one guy I noticed the most, and being on the same side as of the court as you in Corpus Christi gives me a different angle where I noticed him talking a lot more than I may normally notice some of the guys talking, and talking to the coaches sometimes during the game to confirm parts of the scouting report, whether a guy was a good shooter or not, and things like that. So would you say he's starting to become that leader as vocally as well?
Well, he needs to be, and he needs to be on top of it because we've got a lot of guys that need lead, and I don't mean that just in terms of moral support. They need lead in where to go, what to do, when to do it, and I need a general out there that echoes on the floor the call I'm making and makes sure kids are in the right positions. And we've got to get better at that. Many times if you go to the wrong place and I'm a teammate of yours and I don't tell you, you're at fault, but I'm at fault also. Get a guy positioned properly and doing the right things. And yeah, it's a job, but everybody's got to be a teammate and help themselves out. Yeah, hey, well, I was doing the right thing. Well, take care of your teammate too. There's a buddy system out there.
6 games in 9 days to start the season, 5 in 7 days. You could do 4 in 5 days. You could take 3 in the last 3. No matter how you slice it, it's a lot. Tired?
Yeah, the kids got worn out a little bit yesterday. I thought we were kind of leg weary. 6 games, was it 6 in 9, right? And 5 in 7. But, they all like to play too. These kids like playing games, and, the other teams were tired after 3 days also. But, yeah, it was a hectic time, but at least the trip wasn't a taxing trip. A couple hours up in the bus and then a couple hours back, a game a day. So, it's, again, a good learning environment for us. And, you're going to have to do that if you're going to play in March. So somewhere in a conference tournament, you're going to play 3 out of 4 days or 3 days in a row.
The week started off with a 94-62 victory over Houston Tillotson. It had been the most points you'd scored in this team had scored in nearly a calendar year, and that was the most points the team had scored in regulation since 2010. That was kind of game with a non-D1 opponent, but I think in every game there's always something you can take away. So what do you take away from that?
Well, in that game, you're just trying to see what kind of guys you've got in terms of playing with the discipline you need to play with to be effective. Because what we try to talk about is possession by possession, whether you're up 20, down 20, and you see the guys that carry on their discipline, or the guys that think, well, hey, we're having some fun, we're up 25 points. It's all about execution, and can you execute? And that's why even when you're up 25, you see coaches out there being demanding of kids and getting at them instead of, oh, well, coach, why don't you just let them go and have some fun? It's not about that. It's about doing the right things, and you kind of get that out of a game like that.
Do you try to you try to do a lot of different things? It seemed like you used a lot of different defenses early in the game, certainly, and you also ran through a lot of different players.
Yeah, trying to get some different looks at people and trying to get some different looks at some of our systems and see if we can improve them. And at the expense of Tillotson, they were an overmatched opponent and gave us an opportunity to look at a few things.
Well, you come away from that, you hit the road, and you go take on Tennessee Tech on Friday at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and that was one of those games where you were down early, I think down by 9, then came back and led by 10 or 11, and then all of a sudden it's tied at the end. And to end it, you can find it online, hundreds of hits, thousands of hits on some national websites as well. Shaquille Boga hitting a buzzer beater from about 40-45 feet out with about I think it left his hand with about 2 seconds left. He had 4.5 on the clock when the inbounds play happened. So that game was, when that shot goes in, is it a sense of accomplishment, a sense of relief?
Well, it was almost it was a sense of win by default almost. It was like I wanted to jump and cheer, but I was really kind of upset with the way we finished the game. And then even the shot we took at the end of the game was not anywhere near what it should have been. And, so I guess you just feel lucky is what you feel, because the buzzer goes off as the ball's going through the net, which tells you if you shoot from 45 feet, there's at least 2.5 seconds left while that ball's flying in the air. In 2.5 seconds, a player on 2 dribbles can shoot a layup. So we were trying to drive to the rim, look for a foul, kick, and instead jacked up a half-court shot that went in and probably saved his life after a couple turnovers he'd made late and a bad decision there. But, so you felt lucky and apologetic to the other team almost, but happy.
It's funny, something I hadn't noticed at the time, and I caught this when I saw it on a NBC Sports website. There's a video from a different angle, that Texas A&M Corpus Christi shot, where you can hear somebody, and they think that it was Boga, and I don't know for sure. Somebody said ball game after the ball left his hands, as if they knew it was going in. Did you know that ball was going in?
It might have been another GD or something. Maybe it wasn't ball game. I don't know. But I know one of our coaches, I think it was Andy actually, about get to the rim, get to the rim. That came out very vocal. I didn't hear the ball game part of it, but things happen, and we had thrown a few away there at the end, and we, as their coach said, Coach, you don't have to apologize. You deserve to win that game. We had won the game and kind of gave it back to them. So we dominated play for about 30 minutes in that game. So lucky to get it, though.
And playing really well in the middle of the game after going down by 9, went on a big run. I think it was about 21-7 run that really helped you get back in.
Right. And then held on for a long time. It was going 10-11 and then back to 5 or 6 and then back out again. And, we were grinding pretty well, and then got very defensive down the stretch, didn't finish some plays, blew a couple layups, and then a couple turnovers, and they're back in it. But as that tournament showed, everybody was 1-1 after 2 days. So everybody had beat everybody. It was a win or lose almost every game. And so, tough fought games, and guys that made the right decisions at the right times won the games.
And it shows that you're on par with some of these other mid-majors from different conferences. I think we have Summit League, Ohio Valley, and Southland. And then of course the WAC. So it really shows a pretty good amount of parity right now in some of those conferences.
No doubt about it, and you see it throughout college basketball. You got Belmont, a supposedly mid-major, beating Carolina yesterday, and you see other games like that. So, anybody can beat anybody if number one, if you can shoot the ball, okay? Belmont made 15 threes out of 37 attempts yesterday, okay? So, that was a big factor in that game. We're not great at that, but, if we can slash around and drive and get the old conventional three-point plays, and you can compete every night if you do the right things.
Yeah, Columbia almost beat Michigan State the other day.
Exactly.
That really proves anything can happen.
And State coming off a Kentucky win,
Yeah.
So Kentucky did take care of Robert Morris after that NIT loss last year, though. That was a pretty good whooping yesterday.
Yeah, I think a little payback on the. So you move ahead to Saturday, faced off against IPFW, and that was, a game that, you end up falling 66-60, and just another game that you had the chance to win, but it was a little tougher to get that lead in that game.
No doubt about it. That was kind of a nip and tuck game right up through the half, and then well into the second half, and we were down a couple within 3-2, and then we get tied, and then back and forth, and it went back and forth till, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes left. It was like 60 all, I think, at one time, wasn't it? And then, they went on a little run and beat us 66-60. But we had opportunities there. We were right there. But let's give them credit. They do a nice job. They run great offense. They got superhuman size compared to us inside. Big Forbes and the other Reed kid just beat us to death on the offensive glass. But the big addition in that game was them bringing their leading returning scorer back in that game. Jacoby or whatever it is came in and got 18 points against us and showed why he's a senior, why he's their preseason conference player, and came back and had a very, very good game against us.
It's a hard guy to prepare for, Louis Jacobo. It's funny, in their local papers a couple days earlier, there had been a quote saying that Jacobo was going to be out for a few weeks with an injury, and then obviously he wasn't out for a few weeks.
Yeah.
So that caught me off guard when he walked into the game, because I was like, who is this number 13? And then is it hard to prepare for a player that hadn't played yet this season when you're looking at film?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see it coming at all. Andy gave a small report and told, if this guy plays, how effective he is and his numbers and all that, but we had no video off of this year and didn't expect it. But we knew they were a good team, and with him they'd have probably been 3-0 in a tournament. But they came off, they lost the most unbelievable game you've ever seen in your life at Dayton. And Dayton, a great tradition, 13,000 people there. And IPFW has got them down 5 points with 14 seconds left and 3 points with 7 seconds left, or 2 points with 7 seconds left, and lost the game. So brutal loss. And, then lost a ridiculous one to, who was it, Corpus on the first night?
Yeah, 72-71.
So, they'd been in some tough games, and in our game it was tied late, and they made the plays, and we didn't. So, but good team.
Then you finish up the tournament against Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and that was a 72-61 loss. And that game again, it showed the resiliency. Corpus went up big early, and then you're able to come back. When you get down to the end and you've been coming back, is it hard to finish off trying to come back like that, because you've used so much energy to get that close?
Well, it does. You're tired. You've worn your team out a little bit. It's also a situation where maybe they've lost their edge a little because they had a big lead, but we came climbing back and got it to 10. We may have had the ball once to cut it to less, but just couldn't quite get over it. They shot an air ball that banked off the rim or off the backboard and went right into their postman hands, and he laid it in to take it back to 12 again, and we just couldn't get back over that hump. But, we did give ourselves a chance. The disappointing thing, first half, we dug a big hole and then cut it back to 9 and had a chance to cut it to 7 with the ball at the end of the half. Made a really poor decision at the end of the half. We had guys wide open all over the place and forced up a shot. So we were down 9 at half, came out, immediately made 2 defensive errors that gave up 3-point shots, and you're down 15, and it's a tough life then. So, one thing about us, it's very hard for us to make defensive mistakes at the 3 line because we don't necessarily counter them with a bunch of threes. If you look at a kid like Noriega that can throw 4 or 5 threes in a half for you, then you might counter that. But it's a little tougher for us too.
Shaq Hines, every game in the past week, he's had at least 11 points. Wednesday, that was 11 points for a new career high. Then he scored 11, and then another 11. Then he added 13 more for another career high. And he's become a pretty good scoring threat for you. He's
done a really good job. He's been a little disappointing in the first half, but seems to have gotten it going in the second half. I think it was the Tillotson game that he had 0 at half and then got 11 in the second half. And he struggled a little bit at times this weekend with that, and then seems to get in a little rhythm. But we've got to play through him a little bit more, get the ball to him, and realize, that he and Javon, to me, are primary scorers for us, and we've got to be looking for those guys.
When a guy sometimes will struggle out of the gate but then come alive in the second half, is there anything that you can do to try and get him to start in the first half? Maybe you play a 20-minute basketball game before warm-up so it feels like it's the second half already?
Yeah, and maybe try to force some action at him. But, he had some really good looks yesterday in the first half and just didn't make anything, and then got more active driving. And that always is the case to me, that anybody in the game, Jonah, can kickstart themselves by getting a tip in or an easy basket and kind of releasing themselves instead of your first shot being a 3-point attempt and then, oh man, I missed. So kind of they can do it for themselves a little bit too.
So you take Monday off, Tuesday, Wednesday, back at practice before facing off against UTSA. Well, what do you work on before that game?
Well, we've got plenty off of this weekend to work on. We've got to learn Second half, I thought we did a pretty good job yesterday of saving our dribble and getting to the rim with our dribble instead of dribbling sideways, you know. And we started looking through the defense a little more. And we've got to continue to work on that. We've got to clean up our transition, get some screening out of that, and then do a couple things with our trapping out of the zones and stuff that we got to clean up. We got a lot to clean up, but most of it is just, again, showing them some film and getting out there and working on the floor, and then of course preparing for San Antonio, who's, you know, Conference USA team now.
What have you learned about UTSA thus far?
Not a lot, to be honest. Yesterday riding back, and today I've been all on us, and then Andy is doing the San Antonio scouts. So the way that works is he's grinding all that out while I'm kind of doing our self-scout work, and then I'll get on them tomorrow after practice.
I was impressed on the ride back. You know, some of us are watching the movie that's on, and people are doing whatever they do on the bus. But you just came out of a game, and Andy is already looking ahead. I could see he was looking at some UTSA stuff on his laptop, which impressed me because I don't know. I don't feel like I could do that coming out of a game, start to look at the next one, and he already had his mind in the right place.
Well, you know, the old adage, I mean, work is kind of the great eraser of all the things going through your head. Just get back to work. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to take a day off like this after you've lost a game, because you want to get back out on the floor and feel like you're improving your team. Instead, you have to kind of suffer through a day of it and then get back at it. But, yeah, he's got work to do, so he's jumping on top of it. And, you know, all three guys had a scout in the tournament. And then, you know, now it starts rotating. It's been hard for the assistants, too, because 6 games in 9 days, they've had a lot of scout work to do.
So they get a little more of a respite and a little extra time to scout their next opponent. So it's really everybody is finally the schedule starts to calm down a little bit for at least a little while.
Exactly. I think we get done with this, and then we're off until the following Wednesday at Lamar. And then it gets a little quick again. I think we go to Bradley on Saturday and SIU Edwardsville on Monday. But then it really kind of gets in a rhythm after that, other than, well, even TCU and SMU, I think, are 2 days apart, so we've got a little time there.
Yeah, and then, of course, conference season, it'll be like clockwork Thursday, Saturday, so
exactly.
You'll always know when those games are coming. Well, he is Dan Hipsher. He's the head coach of the UTPA Bronx men's basketball team. My name is Jonah Goldberg. You can catch us right back here next week with another edition of the UTPA Bronx men's basketball show right here on 956sports.com.
Good thing.